So now we can bookmark and unbookmark the property by clicking this button, but we have no feedback here to show us if it's bookmarked or not. So what we're going to do is show a different button, a different color and different text if it is bookmarked, which this is right now. If I look at my database, you can see I have it in my bookmarks array. So let's start off by just coming down to the return and saying return, and then we'll check that is bookmark state, and we're going to use a ternary, and we'll show a remove button, else then we'll show the button that we have here. So I'm just going to copy this, the whole button, and in here paste that in, but change the blue here and here to red, and then change the text to remove bookmark. All right, so I'll go ahead and save that. Now, if I reload, it's still going to be blue because we're not checking it. We're not hitting the API route when the page loads. We're only hitting it when I click. So if I click it, you see it's been removed. And then if I click it again, it's been added, and now it does show the remove button. However, again, if I reload, it'll go away, because we need to have a route that we run when the page loads, or that we hit when the page loads to check that value. So let's go into API, or App API, Bookmarks, and create a folder called check. And then in that, we'll create a route.js. Now this is going to be very similar to what we have in just the bookmark route, except we're not going to be changing anything like we do here. We're basically just going to check it and return this. Okay, or respond with that. So let's copy this whole file. This is bookmarks route.js. Let's copy it and put it into bookmark check route.js. And we don't need the property model. And then it's going to be a post request because we're accepting the property ID still. We're going to get it from here. We're going to check the user and all that. And then we're going to get the user from the database. We're going to check to see if that property is bookmarked, but we can delete the let message and then this conditional here, as well as the save, because all we want to send back is the is bookmarked. So we'll get rid of the message, and that should be all we need to do. All right, so now let's go back to bookmark button, and let's add a use effect, which we're already bringing in. And let's see, we're going to put this use effect right above the handle click. And let's pass in our function. And then as far as dependencies, we're just going to add the property dot underscore ID and user ID. And then in the use effect, we need to create an asynchronous function. So let's call this check. We'll say check bookmark status. Set that to async. All right, and then what we'll do is our request, which is going to be very similar to what we did here. So we can actually just copy. Yeah, we can just copy this, really, just this try catch. So we'll get that and then put that inside check bookmark status, and we're going to change the route here to bookmark / check. Still making a post, still adding the headers, still sending the property ID, and then checking the status. If it's 200, we get the data, and we don't want a success because remember, this is just when the page loads. So get rid of that, but we do want to set the is bookmarked to whatever we get back from that route. All right, and then we don't need to do a toast error here either, so we can get rid of that. And I think that should do it. So let's save it. And let's see, is this bookmarked right now? Let me just check. I'm going to reload the data here. Okay, so it is bookmarked. But again, I forgot to call the function. So in the use effect, I need to call this check bookmark status right underneath it. Okay, so now, there we go. So now it says remove bookmark. Now, one thing I don't like is when you load the page, it's blue for a second, and then when it gets it hits the route and comes back, then it turns red. So I think what we should do is add a loading state. So we'll say const loading, set loading, and set that to use state. We'll set it to true by default. And then in the use effect check bookmark status where we have the try catch, I'm going to add a finally onto it because I do want to set the loading to false whether it's an error or not. So set loading to false. Then all we have to do is come down above the return and just check for, we'll say if loading, then let's return, and we'll just do a paragraph. Oops, can't do that. Paragraph, and we'll say loading, ... I don't want to show a spinner here. So now, see if I reload, it just says loading real quick, and then it shows the button rather than showing the blue button first. If you want to put a spinner there or do something else or not show anything, that's fine as well. In fact, I do want to center that. So let's say class name and set that to text center. Yeah, it just shows in the middle. Click it. You see it gives us the message and it goes back to blue. If I click it again, it goes back to red. Reload the page and it should stay red. Now, what if we're not logged in? Let's go ahead and sign out. Okay, and then I'm going to go to that page again, and obviously it's not bookmarked. And if I look in the console, well, we're not getting any. Yeah, we are. Okay. So what's happening here is we're getting a 401 unauthorized because remember, in that route, we're checking for the session. So what we'll do is in the use effect, before it actually checks anything, let's just go right here. Let's say if not user ID, then we're just going to return. So that will prevent it from calling that function. So now if I reload, it shouldn't check that. It shouldn't run and check that route, right? We don't want it to. And if I click, oh, actually we have an issue here. It's still loading. So let's actually do this. So if not user ID, set loading to false, and then return. All right, so we'll reload the page. Okay, so now we see the button, and you could have it say something else, like you have to log in or whatever. I'm going to keep it because we made it so if I click it, it says you need to sign in to bookmark a property. But I mean, that kind of stuff is really just preference on how you want the workflow, how you want it to work. But yeah, so now our system is complete. I'm just going to log back in here and continue, and this one should be bookmarked because now I'm logged in and it fetches this user's bookmarks. All right, cool. So in the next video, we're going to move on to this saved properties link because we want to be able to go there and see all of our bookmarked properties.